Well, the Lerner Theater was built in 1924. The history of the organ is a bit interesting because, as I understand it, the organ was actually not built for this theater. That it was built for another theater that before it opened went bankrupt. And the story has it that Mr. Kimball himself came to Elkhart and transplanted the organ into the Lerner Theater. In the process of restoration, the first thing that one does is you look at the original instrument and you determine what parts can be restored, in this case in particular because of the water damage. There were areas that were questionable. In fact, we actually were able to restore even the pipes that were very severely damaged. We were able to put those back together, and they are making beautiful sounds now, when they certainly weren't for a while when they were in pieces. So we start building the organ on what's called a floor frame. And we copied the original style of the Kimball 1924 floor framing and duplicated that for our new layout of the organ within that space. And then we started assembling everything from the instrument in our shop in Columbus to the point of it being fully playable, where we actually even recorded parts of the instrument and were able to play all of it. At that point, when we were satisfied with it, we marked everything carefully, bring it to the theater. We took over the entire stage with all of the parts of the instrument and spread them out into two groups depending on the color coding, and then hoisted the parts up into the chamber, and lo and behold, they actually fit. Basically, the pipe portion of the instrument between a theater organ and a church organ are the same. You have the basic pipe construction that produces the sound, which is either the sound of a flue pipe, that's F-L-U-E, is like blowing on a Coke bottle. That's where you have the tone produced that way. The other type of pipe is called a reed pipe, and there's actually a vibrating reed in the pipe.
All right, so we'll begin with looking at some of the brass section. This first is a fanfare reed called an English post horn. Sounds like this. And then right beside that, the trumpet. And then the upper section of the tuba, maybe a little more like a French horn. And the base of the tuba. Some of the biggest pipes in the organ are contained in that set, and they're over 16 feet tall, almost as big around as a trash barrel.
So you have all these various things that help produce the sounds of what would happen in an orchestra to accompany a movie of any type, let alone a silent movie. So you have triangles, you have bird whistles, which are the one thing that's not produced naturally. Everything else is real. If you have a bass drum sound, it's a real bass drum. If you have a triangle, it's a real triangle. The bird, however, is a bird whistle, not a real bird. You'll notice in the one photo, particularly of the violin, where the pipe is too tall for the chamber, so it is mitered, but the length of that air column is still 16 feet plus, and that produces the lowest pitch. The smallest pipe in the instrument is normally about 1/4 of an inch long. In this Kimball organ and in many other Kimball organs of the period, they went 4 notes smaller to what is actually not 97 pipes, but 101 pipes. And it's very unique to have those extra 4 pipes. That is, top note is as small as you can ever make an organ pipe, and it's less than 1/4 of an inch in length for the speaking length of that pipe. The original console for the organ here in the Lerner was 2 manuals in 1924. One of the things that we were able to secure in the organ that was added to this from 1927 was a 3 manual console, or 3 keyboards. Whether it was the original console or the one we secured, they were both in very bad condition. I mean, after all, they'd been played since the early 20s. And so it involved rebuilding the keyboards, some of which were worn clear down through the ivories into the wood. And so we had to build the wood back up before the new coverings could be put on the keys. This has been an exciting project for us to do, and looking at the situation here for the people of Elkhart relative to this organ, you have done a magnificent thing in this theater, the restoration of it, preserving it for future generations, and in being able to maintain this organ for future generations. You should be so proud of what you've done.